It's now, according to that clock, noon. So we're going to be calling the organizational meeting of the East Grand Forks Economic Development Authority. Could I have you call roll, please, Brenda?
Yeah, just give me a second. I went to turn on my recorder and it said I needed a battery, which it didn't tell me before then. And I'm going to quick send David the link for this meeting. He can't find it.
And please turn on your microphones.
Is there some reason I have two?
Yeah, because you're
the biggest offender.
When you're
lawyers speak with forked tongue.
When you're important, that's what happens.
Well, then let's turn this one around, too.
You're not that important.
Two is cereal. What is three?
All right, I'm ready.
Okay,
Johnson,
Yes.
Black,
Yes.
Blair. Yes. Horkin,
Yes.
Heck,
Here.
Grindy,
Yes.
Helms.
Here.
Great, we got quorum.
Thank you. Basically, the first order of business is going to be the administration of oath of office to the newly appointed officials and the reappointed officials. So I know that it's Mr. Horkin,
Mr. Grindy.
Mr. Grindy. Okay, so if you could do me a favor and just stand. I believe you do have an oath. Let's just...
It's in the second page of your packet.
It's on the back. It's on the back side. Somewhere. It's on the back side of the.
That's
Well, I
mine.
think we need to have the, so it's not back and forth.
I've got one around. I printed my stuff.
Oh, did you?
Yeah, so I've got it here.
Okay.
Aren't you organized?
Yeah. First meeting, Josh. I don't know.
Okay, if you could do, raise your right hand and repeat after me. I state your name.
I, Ben Horkin.
Josh Grindy,
Do solemnly swear
do solemnly swear
that I will support the Constitution of the United States
that I will support the Constitution of the United States
and the Constitution of the State of Minnesota,
and the Constitution of the
State of Minnesota.
and faithfully perform and discharge
And faithfully perform and discharge
the duties of Economic Development Authority Board Member.
the duties of Economic Development Board Member
What he said?
Yep.
Okay. Of the City of East Grand Forks,
of the City of East Grand Forks,
County of Polk,
County of Polk,
State of Minnesota,
State of Minnesota,
to the best of my judgment and ability,
to the best of my judgment and ability,
so help me God.
so help me God.
And then if you could both, you have signed, if you want to just sign this one, and then, Ben, if you could sign the one you have there, I'll notarize them.
Okay.
And then I'll give them to Paul to put on record. Thank you, sir.
You guys going to support the Constitution of the United States? That's better than what we got right now.
David looks like he needs to sign it. Thank you. Wow. There you go. Thank you. Congratulations.
Thank you.
Look forward
Thank
to
you.
working with
Thank you.
Ben. Wow.
I'm okay with that, Ben.
Okay, so the next order of business will be the electing the president of the Economic Development Authority. Do I have any nominations? Mr. Helms.
I'll nominate Mr. Grindy for the president of the Economic Development Authority.
Do I have any other nominations?
Can I second the nomination?
You can second the nomination.
I'll second the nomination for Josh Grundy.
Okay. Do I have a motion to close nominations?
I'll move to close nominations.
Second?
I'll second.
Second by Mr. Horkin, moved by Mr. Hecht. We will call roll.
Paper.
Do you have
I don't have paper right now.
Okay. We'll do an oral call. So Brenda, could you please just ask the members for their vote?
Okay. So yes or no? Johnson,
Yes.
Black,
Yes.
Blair. Yes. Horkin,
Yes.
Heck,
Yes.
Grandy. Does he vote?
Sustain.
I'd say yes.
He can abstain, but that's fine. Then we have,
Helms.
Yes.
Okay, motion carried.
we have a unanimous decision. Mr. Grindy, you will be the president, and I will turn the meeting over to you for the nominations of the vice president and the secretary.
Okay, do we have any nominations for vice president?
I'd like to nominate Mr. Black.
I'll second that.
Who made that motion?
Doug Johnson.
Okay,
Any other nominations?
I'll move to close nominations for vice president.
I'll second.
Second by Johnson.
okay.
Go ahead and
You could just call for, if there's a unanimous,
decision.
a decision to approve, and then just ask.
So,
Well,
Is
and then basically, we're moving for a unanimous decision of the election of the vice president as nominated, and then call roll.
okay.
Got that?
Johnson,
Yes.
Black,
Yes.
Blair. Yes. Horkin,
Yes.
Heck,
Yes.
Grindy,
Yes.
Helms.
Yes.
Motion carried.
Okay, now do we have any nominations for secretary and treasurer?
I nominate Diane Blair.
I'll second.
Any other nominations? Okay, we can do a unanimous one on that one too, for Diane Blair for secretary and treasurer?
Or secretary. The treasurer has to be,
Just secretary, okay. And you were right in, Diane, thank you. Can we, could you call roll, please?
I just want to make sure Helms made the motion, is that correct?
And seconded by Johnson.
Okay. All right, so this is for the unanimous. Oh, are we going to close the nominations, or you did that already?
Yep, we
no,
already closed it.
no, nobody, no, we
I
didn't have a
move to
motion.
close.
I second to close.
Okay, so I guess I'm going to have you say your names, because I go to write something down, I look down and somebody else has made so who made the motion to close the nominations?
Mr.
Johnson.
Black.
Oh, I thought he seconded. Who seconded it then?
I'll second it. To Johnson.
Thank you, I appreciate the name on that. All right, so it's a motion to close the nominations and for unanimous for Diane for secretary.
Correct.
Johnson,
Yes.
Black,
Yes.
Blair. Yes. Horkin,
Yes.
Hack,
Yes.
Grandy,
Yes.
Helms.
Yes.
Motion carried.
Da-da.
Essentially, now what we'll do is we'll ask for a motion to adjourn the organizational meeting, and then we will go to the next meeting, which would be the regular meeting scheduled for today.
I'll make a motion to adjourn.
I'll second.
Horkin made the motion.
Second by Hecht.
Thank you.
Call roll, please.
Johnson,
Yes.
Black,
Yes.
Blair. Yes. Horkin,
Yes.
Hack,
Yes.
Grandy,
Yes.
Helms.
Yes.
Motion carried.
Okay. Call the meeting back to order for our first good one of 2021.
Roll call.
Call roll, please.
Johnson,
Yes.
Black,
Yes.
Blair. Yes. Horkin,
Yes.
Helms,
Yes.
Grandy.
Yes.
Did I miss Hack?
Yep. Yes, I'm here.
All right, thank you.
She did, didn't she?
Didn't say she surprised me.
Okay. Approve the minutes for December 8th, 15th, and January 5th meetings.
I'll move.
Blair moves approval.
I'll second.
Second by Daniel. Brenda.
Okay, thank you.
Call roll?
You don't need a roll call vote for anything that's not money.
Well, then we can go.
All in favor?
All in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Bills and communications.
These are bills, these are bills that have already been paid, so you're just reviewing what was charged.
Is there any questions on any of them? And we don't need a motion on that either. Everybody good? No questions? Nope. Okay. Reports, delinquency update.
None.
Awesome. Financial reports deferred to February.
Because of everything that's going on right now with regard to the
Loans.
loan and grant programs, I talked to Carla and asked her to defer. I also deferred my report till that time, because I thought that
Makes
at
sense.
this meeting would have a lot of things taking up time, and I didn't want to extend the time of the meeting.
No, makes sense. Same thing with director's reports then.
Yes.
Okay. Unfinished business. El Huda Center appeal of loan denial.
In your packet, you'll find the appeal. The loan committee went through and considered their appeal based upon a particular provision in the executive orders, and has recommended that this now be approved.
And so that, I'm not sure, but you may want to just explain to Mr. Horkin, unless he's got the background on
He was
it.
here last time.
Oh, I'm sorry.
Yep.
Never mind.
Can
I'm
you-
sorry.
Can I ask what the provision was that, why?
It had to do with gatherings, and they fell into the ability to meet this because they cannot have community gatherings. Okay.
And it was discussed in grave detail last Thursday night
Okay.
with the loan committee.
Loan committee.
Josh,
Yes.
when you talk, can you get closer to your mic? I didn't hear any of that.
I just was explaining to Ben that it was discussed in great detail with the loan committee on last Thursday night, and that's why
Okay.
the decision was overturned.
Okay, thank you.
Sorry,
Maybe
No,
you should
you're
grab the second
fine.
mic and bring it over too.
be like Ron, be important.
Just, you're not as quite as important as Ron, because Ron has 3.
I'll move for approval based on the loan committee's recommendation.
I'll second that. Johnson seconds it.
Okay, thank you.
Now, just for clarification, this is $20,000. It's the same terms as we approved last time, $20,000. No payments until September 1st of 2021, that's this year, and no interest until September 1st of 2022.
And that's a 1% interest?
1% interest rate, yes, sir.
1%.
Thank you.
Call roll, please.
Okay. Johnson,
Yes.
Black,
Yes.
Blair. Yes. Corkin,
Yes.
Heck,
Yes.
Grindy,
Yes.
Helms.
Yes.
Okay, motion carried.
Just for point of information, these funds are coming from the IRP fund as opposed to being from the MIF loan funds.
Did you catch that, Ben? So in other words, it's not coming from the other 2 programs that were, okay.
Yep.
New business, forgivable loan program.
If I may, I'd like to do them in the reverse order and deal with the grant program first,
I agree.
okay? And
So go ahead with the Polk County grant program.
Polk County received $622,000 and some change from the state of Minnesota under the act that was approved, the $216 million aid act that was approved. And the allocation to Polk County was $622,000, as I said. Of that, Polk County has set aside for use in favor of businesses located within the city limits of East Grand Forks, $200,000. And the loan committee discussed, we discussed everything and ad infinitum, it seems like, on Thursday night, because there was a lot of discussion, a lot of detail about this, and how it fits with other programs, and what the priorities should be for this. The state law does not actually prioritize, but the local community can do some priorities. And what the loan committee did is the highest priority for receiving would be those businesses not eligible for direct state payments and other businesses that have slipped through the cracks. The committee identified 3 restaurants, 2 transportation businesses, and 3 hospitality businesses as being in the highest priority group. Now, the thing to remember on that is each has to apply in order to receive funds.
Yes.
Okay, so, but we've identified certain targets because of the situation, and depending upon it, we didn't talk about it, there may be one other restaurant that is ineligible, and I think that would be included in that group too, if I may,
Yes.
okay? Funds not identified for the prioritized business would then be available to other retail, travel, restaurant, service, and hospitality businesses. All applicants shall submit a profit and loss statement for 2019 and 2020 to determine the relative impact upon themselves and their operations. And the recommendation from the loan committee was that the EDA approve this with these, with the targets that have been created.
That is correct.
And there are 3 members of the EDA who were here. Carla was in that meeting, and Ron was in that meeting as well, in case anybody has additional comments.
Anybody? Go ahead, Ron.
And if I may, because we've never done it, I had previously drafted a resolution that accepted the responsibility to do this. We should be acting on a resolution to say that we're going to accept the responsibility to work on behalf of the county.
Don't we have it someplace?
Well, I provided it to
Yeah.
you, but it's not here, so
I
I
don't
have.
see it here.
So we realistically should be this body approving a resolution to administer the grant program for the county, and essentially that resolution has been drafted, and it specifically would allow us to determine the program parameters, and then we would submit the recommendations of approval of the individual businesses and loan amounts upon application by the businesses to the county Board of Commissioners, and that county Board of Commissioners ultimately has the final authority to approve or deny. We are just merely acting as a conduit, so to speak, and reviewing the applications and setting the parameters for the final decision to be made at the County Board of Commissioners, due to the fact that they don't have an EDA, and they have asked us to do it. They have asked us to do it based upon the resolution that's in this packet, and then we're just following through with that request. So, Brenda, if you could we would ask for a motion to approve the resolution, get a second, and then call roll on that issue, since it is a resolution. Brenda?
Do you guys want me to make you copies and run them down first? Or are you okay?
I think we're okay.
The resolution?
That's the county's resolution?
We need our own.
No,
our
it's the
own.
one the one you sent, Ron. You
Yeah.
want them to have copies?
I just don't find it real fast.
Oh, I didn't see it.
It's not in
my-
the packet.
It was sent separately.
Yeah, but I don't think we need the copies, do we?
Okay.
No.
And you run it to Diane?
Oh, yes, definitely.
Can we what?
Run it to.
Give it to
Right,
Diane
Diane.
right now.
Don't you see it going by you?
Yep, I saw it. There it is. That Josh is quick.
Freaky fast.
Yes.
You want to call roll, please?
We need a
Oh,
motion.
Yeah.
Blair moves approval of resolution.
Second by Hecht.
call roll, please.
Yes. Johnson,
Yes.
Black,
Yes.
Blair,
Yes.
Corkin,
Yes.
Heck,
Yes.
Randy,
Yes.
Helms.
Abstain?
Okay, motion carried.
Okay, any further discussion on that? Good. Now you want to go to the forgivable loan program
Well, actually, I think you should probably go through
and vote on each one?
on the other program that you guys have set up.
Finish it.
And the parameters that Mr. Gordy just announced.
I don't think I understand you, Ron. Are you saying?
So we need to,
We need to approve the parameters? Is that what you're saying?
We need to right now, we're just doing the application, the resolution. You indicated that the loan committee had met and
Okay.
discussed the,
I understand now.
Oh, for the other business, yeah.
So what we have to do is approve the parameters that are shown here.
Okay.
Thank
just
you.
a question, why would a restaurant not have received direct state payments?
Due to timelines of when they set up to, like they had to be in business in 2019.
Okay.
Yeah, you have to show a 30% loss, minimum 30% loss between last year and this year. If you were not in business in 2019, you cannot show that.
Okay, thank you.
How many businesses are we including totally in the 200,000 from the county?
Roughly 8 or 9.
Well, no, there are roughly a total, with the ones that we identified, as we have 8 or 9 targeted businesses,
That
but
slipped
there
through
are a
the cracks.
total of, I want to say 65 or 70 total businesses that fall within these categories that are not industrial businesses.
That you're saying are eligible for the 200,000 from the county?
For part of the 200,000, yes.
How we
Right.
disperse it is up to us.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Correct.
Our recommendation.
Yeah.
Correct.
Our recommendation.
It also requires that they apply, and not everybody applies.
Sure.
So we could have 40 applications for this 200,000.
Yes.
Or
We
two.
could have 4.
Right.
But we still got a limit on what we can give.
What is not stated in here is that there is a limit of $24,999.
Okay, that was my next question, because I
Okay.
didn't see that anywhere.
No.
Same as the one that the city.
Correct.
Yes.
Yeah, and that's,
Is that going to be set up as a forgivable loan as well, or is that a straight grant?
The dollars that were created by the state are a grant. They will go through Polk County to the businesses. The intent was to get the businesses that were not identified or that did not fit into the parameters of the direct payments that go to the restaurants and to
Travel.
the theater and to convention centers. There are businesses, there are hotels, for example, that have large convention operations that were not included, that would receive some of these funds. There are restaurants that did not open or were not open in 2019, so they're not eligible to receive the direct payments from the state. So this money was designed to address those kinds of inequities. That was what the legislature was trying to do.
So there isn't any confusion then, is we're going to have the loan applications that have to be, according to the county, accepted or turned in by January 29th of 2021. After those applications are turned in, then it was my understanding, and you guys can correct me if I'm wrong, that those applications would go back to the loan committee for determination of loan amounts, or I wouldn't say loan amounts, this is a grant program, so grant amounts to the applicants, and then those recommendations would come back to this group for approval to be submitted to the county for final approval.
That is correct. What we will have to do, that's why we changed our meeting in February to the 9th, because I will meet with Crookston and Foston and the county on the 11th, and they will bring their recommendations. We are also doing this for the unincorporated areas, and we each have a territory. And they will not have these restrictions. These are, they will be dealing with just what the county is looking for, and the county has different requirements, slightly different requirements. It was not a focus program. So we will also be dividing up the allocation that the county reserved unto itself. Okay?
Are we putting guidelines or stipulations on this application that businesses have to show a certain loss or showing a loss in order? Or how do we have guidelines set in place yet for this money of how it's going to be distributed, why? My only concern is if we have 50, 60 applications, how do we decide who gets what, why they get that? Do they have to show a loss to even be eligible? What are our criteria for that?
We anticipate that would be handled similarly to the way the CARES Act was handled, where if they can demonstrate a loss, and then they each got a percentage of the funds. In the CARES Act, there were certain funds that were higher for the businesses that had $400,000, $500,000, $600,000 losses, and they got much less than the 30%, but for most businesses, they got 30% of their net loss. And that's why the P&Ls, so we can get something that shows the relative difference and we can determine and then apply a percentage to it. That's the expectation.
And just trying to figure it out, before we approve it, in my mind, I'm just trying to figure out, where we could potentially end up with how much anybody could get. If we could have a large number of applications, which means a very small amount of money for everybody.
The nice thing is that it's a grant program, so that it's not money they'd ever have to pay back.
Right.
Diane, did you have something?
Yes, when we did the CARES Act, we had P&Ls. Do we need to do that with this program as well?
That was one of the criteria that the loan committee recommended, is to get P&Ls. And they looked at for the entire year for 2019 and 2020.
But will we have Brady?
We're just going to do a very
But will
simple
Brady's be-
comparison. We're just going to do a
Okay.
very simple comparison on here and see what the net loss, or what the net difference is for each business.
Answer, that, you okay with that, Diane?
Yes, I just wanted to make sure, if we were hiring Brady Martz, I was wondering where the funds were going to come from, so.
That's why we chopped them.
It comes out of
good
your...
job, good job.
It comes out of your EDA board salary, Diane.
Yeah. Daniel?
Oh, man, I won't. Well, you didn't have to buy a Diet Coke this week, so, there you go.
I was just going to say that we did discuss it in the loan committee extensively, and part of it is we wanted to go with the same things that we asked for basically from the CARES Act, just to help businesses simplify it, since most of the businesses that already applied for that,
Cut, copy, paste.
it'll make it a simpler process for the businesses at the end of the day.
Sure.
There may be additional mutts that they can add, but that was part of the goal behind it, and that was the other reason too. I was going to say about we did cut that portion out.
Yep.
And just simplify.
And I agree with that. I just didn't see that, any of the
That's-
recommendations anywhere on here of what,
And the other thing on here is that it will technically be a county application. We will never receive the funds.
Never see.
Right.
We just make a recommendation to the county on how the funds should be expended.
yep.
Anything else on that? No?
On the parameters.
Do we have a motion on the parameters?
I'll move.
I'll second.
Get
Presume
that?
that's to approve.
To approve.
To approve. You got that, Brenda?
I do, thank you.
Call roll, please.
Johnson,
Yes.
Black,
Yes.
Blair,
Yes,
Orkin,
Yes.
Heck,
Yes.
Grundy,
Yes.
Helms,
Yes.
motion carry.
Okay, now you want to talk about the forgivable loan?
Yes. There are a lot of things going on right now. And the loan committee discussed in depth what's going on, and something even has happened since the loan committee met. There is the EDA's loan program. We approved 5 loans under. There's the direct payments to the restaurants. Those checks were supposed to have gone out on Monday, yesterday, but they are going out as checks rather than electronic transfers, so that it will be the check is in the mail thing. There is the program that's giving money, that is grant money to the theaters and convention centers. That is a program where they actually have to apply and show how they fit into the program. I do know that our theater has already applied and been approved for acceptance into the program. There is the money that the city council has approved as a forgivable loan program that we're working on. So there's the money that we've just talked about, that's county dollars. And on Monday, the next round of I'm doing this for you in particular, Tim, Paycheck Protection Program, or PPP, became available on Monday. So there's a lot that's going on. And there was a lot of discussion about how this money, the $260,000 that the city council has allocated, can best be used. And I'm going to wait and have the members of the EDA members of the loan committee talk about that in particular. But I also want to bring your attention, the general sentiment was that discussion on that program and implementation of that program be deferred to see how we can best target it, how the EDA could best target it. That's a summary, and you guys can talk about it in much greater detail. Each of you received an email today, and the email is on your desk, and we need to enter this into the record. It is from the mayor talking about the expectations, his expectations on the program. He has told me that he was disappointed that the program was not done more quickly because the council wanted to get the money to the businesses as quickly as possible. Ron, do I need to read this communication?
No, it'll be in the minutes, it'll be in the packet, so that's fine. Everybody's been provided a copy of it.
Yes. So having that before you, and you need to hear, I would suggest you hear the discussion from the members of the loan committee and their thought process, and then you can discuss among yourselves about how to best proceed. Procedurally, this is not agendized for creating a program today, right, Ron?
That's correct.
So we have to, if we decide to move forward more quickly, the procedure would be to go through the loan committee again and to have this come back to the EDA for approval, such as we talked about with the county program today.
If I may?
Yes, sir.
Procedurally, what I would recommend is that the recommendation of the loan committee would be acted upon at this group today after discussion of their recommendation to defer it. If it's deferred, then we would be putting it back on the loan committee at a later date to set up all the parameters in the program essentials. If that recommendation is voted down today, then it would be my recommendation that we schedule a loan committee meeting in short time frame to be able to discuss parameters, program specifics to include what would be the goals, what would be the restrictions, what would be the default mechanisms for the forgivable loan, the length of time that we would be looking at for the forgivable loan. I know there's been some discussions on whether it would be 3 years forgivable and a third, and a third, if it would be 5 years forgivable at 2020, over time, if in fact, but at this point in time, those parameters were just generalized at the previous meeting and have not been set forth in any specific discussion based upon the loan committee's recommendation to defer to a later date. So that being said, I know that the loan committee was present, other than was myself, just as a consultant. It was Mr. Grindy, Mr. Black. I know Carla was there as well, and Mr. Helms was there. And I would like them to address the reasons and thought process regarding their recommendations prior to putting it up for a motion. Thank you.
Just for the record, I was there too.
Yep, Paul was there too, in spirit.
More than that.
Yes. Daniel, you want to talk? I know we've talked about this stump, same thing. That meeting was 2.5 hours, so it wasn't like we just wham, done, go. Tossed around a lot of what ifs, how ifs, what ifs. But the conclusion, Daniel, you want to?
I can go ahead and talk about it.
Yeah.
So in discussing all of this, getting the grant program going, finding out the direct payments, even the stuff that the federal government, has already done with the PPP program. We just, I know for me, looking at it, we're taking 260,000 taxpayer dollars and trying to make a hasty decision on something and not figuring out how it could actually fit into the programs that we already have. Because not all the programs
Are the same
and not all the information has been available. So to make that decision right away was really, really hard for me to say, yeah, let's go for it. I don't want to be in a situation, I know people have brought up things before, but we've already had issues with loans before and transparency. And my big thing is always on policy is to be as transparent as possible with this. And the other part is just where does it fit in so that we can maximize the help that we can give the businesses? And with everything else going on and all these applications going out, it's really, really hard to figure out where this program would fit in. And then, in talking with everybody too, the council had made these recommendations, but there are no strings attached to this money, as we talked about. So, just doing our due diligence on it. I'll leave it at that then.
Yeah, and that's why we pushed, okay, there was a timeline also on this money from the county. So, okay, let's start with that right off the bat. Let's see who we picked out, if I remember, 8 or 9 or 10 companies that didn't get a dollar, so to speak, that slipped through all the cracks between us, the state. So let's see what our general consensus was, let's see who we get to apply for all this and start dispersing backwards, if that makes sense.
One other thing too, I was just going to say is that based on these programs that are available and the grant dollars too, having that available to a business could influence their decision on whether they wanted to apply for the forgivable loan program and take on more
Correct,
debt too.
and take on more debt.
That was another discussion we had.
So timeline-wise, if we wait for the county, February 9th,
29th.
No,
Or no, January
29th.
29th.
We've talked about when we do the loan committee immediately after the county's program the applications have occurred, that we would have a loan committee, and since we don't have an EDA meeting that Tuesday, maybe we fit it in that Tuesday and do the county applications and this program that Tuesday. That was my expectations, Ben.
so
That would be
if we
February
wait
2nd.
and defer this money, when could these people possibly get a portion? That's my concern is we keep kicking this thing down the road, and I agree not making a hasty decision. But these people just opened up on Monday. The point of this money was to get them started. So that's my only hesitation with, I don't want to make a hasty decision either, but I want to get some money in. PPP's not fast.
Nothing's
None
fast.
of this stuff's fast. So this money could be fast.
Yes and no.
Yeah, the program requires an application.
Correct.
And when it requires an application period, and then it requires, after review of those applications and approval of those, there are all loan papers involved in there, which is much more extensive than what people are going to get for the grant program.
Okay.
We had, when the city program came up, I remember clearly that the city council was told that the money probably would not go out the door until at least roughly the 1st of February anyway. Mm-hmm. And what's happening is that some of the programs with the PPP and the state's grant dollars are going out faster. So the money may be more effective in the future, Ben, than it is today. And did I summarize the
Yes.
conversation well enough?
It's a intertwined cobweb.
Just on the last loan that we did, last time we met on those loans, that money still hasn't been dispersed, correct?
That is correct. We have to put all the paperwork together on there.
Right.
And there are only 5 there, but we still have to put all the paperwork together. And I have to get a couple pieces of information from at least one of the borrowers so that Mr. Gallstead can prepare all the loan papers. And then we have to close on those. And it's just, there's a lot of work that goes into getting the money out the door after it's been approved.
But if we move this 30 days, it's going to be 30 days longer.
Yes. Yep.
I would probably, I would agree with that. What I was looking at is that the loans that we just approved, the paperwork is pretty much, I've done it and I've got that ready. okay? So the issue isn't so much getting the paperwork ready for the ones that were just approved. Then, I know the last time that we were doing these loans, trying to get the businesses in to come in and sign the documents, that took longer than anything, even when they were telling us that we really needed the money. You know, there was a couple of them that were right there, and most of them, and one of them never has
One
showed
hasn't
up.
done it yet.
And then, but with this new program, I don't have like a necessary template. I've got a lot of it ready because I was preparing for potential program defaults and different documents. So I've got the promissory note ready. We had not made a decision if there was going to be, the guarantees were one thing, but if there was real estate, whether or not we were going to do a mortgage, if we were doing a mortgage, it had to be a kind of a deferred mortgage. So it's not that it's insurmountable, it's just with everything else that's going on, it just doesn't happen in 15 minutes. So I basically told everybody that it would probably be 30 days before anything moved out the door. So that was one of the things. And then I think the other discussion that did come up in that loan committee meeting is that they wanted the grant money to potentially go out first because there was less of an appetite that some of the members had talked about for taking on additional debt, even if it was a deferred loan and potentially forgivable if there was some type of a default. You know, that was the other part of the discussion. And I was just an observer, you know, in that and giving some legal advice. And to be quite honest with you, at that meeting, I don't know if we were ready to be able to set up all those default parameters and if there is any. So that's kind of.
And there was default parameters that
Yep.
were talked about.
Yep. But that was one of the.
Hey, guys. Joe Bowen just called from the Herald, and he said it's very difficult to hear you guys and to see who's talking and know who's talking. So he's asking that before you speak, you say, "This is Josh Grindy," and then the IT guys, if it's possible to get close-up of any of these guys while they're speaking, would be helpful for him as well. So I've passed that on to you.
So this is Ron Galston. I'm done.
You're welcome.
This is Justin Hecht. I had the same concerns as Ben. I felt that the reason the council gave us this authority to give us this money and get it out was to get it out quickly, and to get it to the businesses that have carried the burden of being the ones that were the only ones shut down through the executive orders, and especially the extended order, the 2103. I, for one, would like to see us, not worry about the other programs. I also felt the same way Ben does, is that these businesses opening up, they all now have to order a bunch more food to be ready to serve people in-house dining and everything now, and a lot of those guys might be they got to pay for that food when it's delivered, so they need additional funds right now.
And not to interrupt you, but again,
This is Josh Grindy.
yeah, sorry, this is Josh Grindy, Mr. Bowen. Again, we just heard, because this was all discussed in great detail. And again, we just heard from Paul and Ron, we still can't get people to come in and apply with this, and this was the same discussion we had back then about getting this to them immediately.
Right. Well, and I agree with that too, and I agree with people don't want to take on additional loans, even though this is considered a loan that without default basically will be forgiven, which I do believe that the people will come forward for this money. I feel that if we would have, and I don't know, I'm not speaking for anybody, it's just my personal opinion, I feel that if we would have waited for all the other programs and the state money and this county money and everybody got their money and then we sat and looked to see if we needed to do anything, I don't feel that the council would have even gave us this money at that time. I feel that this money was given to get out quickly. I don't think that the county money or the state money is going to put these guys anywhere near to say, hey, we're going to, even if we have another shutdown, we're going to be able to make it. The amounts of money that are going to come through those two programs still aren't even enough for some of these restaurants to make 1 week's worth of payroll. That's why I would like us to see, to try push this through and get our parameters in place for this and get the money out to who we feel we want it to go to, who's affected the most, and not worry about the county program and the state money that's coming. The state throws out a big number of the hundreds of millions of dollars that are going to the people, but if it was just going to restaurants in the state of Minnesota, there's over 10,000 bar and restaurants in the state of Minnesota, which would have been less than $20,000 per bar restaurant, and that wasn't the only business in that category. So even though they throw out these big numbers, it amounts to very little, where I would like, based on the wishes of the council, the reason they gave us this money to try get it out, get it done, and get it done as fast as possible. I know nothing's quick, but if we wait till the end of January, we're probably looking into March by the time we're going to get the money dispersed. I mean, we sat at our meeting right before Christmas and we argued about when we should have a loan program application due so people could get a loan. And we were arguing whether we give them a week or two to get that out or 3 days. And that was a loan. And now we're talking about money that can be forgiven and we're going to drag it out a month. I just feel that we're doing the wrong thing by dragging it out. I do believe and I have full confidence in our loan committee to put the parameters together and to pinpoint on who should get the money and how much. I think our loan committee has done a phenomenal job through every one of those decisions that they've made. So I don't think that, I understand your guys' concern with feeling that you might have been rushing into something, but I do believe you guys can make the right decision on who gets it and that we can put the right parameters in place for it.
And that's why let's see who applies for with this coming in, because we've heard all along there's 50, 60 people that are companies that are going to apply. How many have applied since the beginning of day one? 10?
For the county money? Well, that's not even available yet, is it?
Roughly 20.
Yeah, okay, 20, not 50, 60. So now when we get down to this money, you already know that we can only give out 24,999.
Yeah.
Well, divide that out.
Right.
There's 200 grand versus plus 260.
Yeah.
So now we can keep rolling backwards.
Well, and I agree with that 100%, but I do believe that, obviously with the county grant, it's a grant, they know it right off the bat, they're not going to have to pay it back. This is going to have some stipulations with it on default, then they'd have to pay a portion back, maybe all of it back, some of it, depending on how long things go and what you guys ultimately decide. But I still feel that in our last meeting, the businesses that we outlined, or was that you that outlined those, Paul, with this 260,000, the restaurants? We have one that we missed with the money that we were given to give out, so they got a little bit more. A couple that aren't eligible for state money. So again, now we're saying these guys are getting state money. Well, we have a couple that aren't. That's where I also feel the need to stress on getting that 260 out.
And again, that's why on that county money, that 200,000, that's why they went to the front of the line.
Sure, but what happens if we do have 40 businesses apply for the county grant?
What happens if we have 5?
No, I get it, but I'm just saying that whenever you're going to throw the word grant out there and we approach all these businesses, I mean, I think we're fools if we think that we're not going to have a minimum of 20 to 30 applications. I mean, when we did the last time when we did a grant, look at all the businesses that we had on there.
For the CARES Act, we had something like 36 or 37 applicants for grant.
And I don't see why we wouldn't have that again, because they're the ones that showed losses where they're still going to be able to show that same loss where we're going to have to put them on that list again.
Mr. President?
Yes, sir.
If I may, Dale Helms,
I'm sorry.
kind of the biggest problem that happened with this city money is the fact that the EDA board did not meet before the holidays. So there was probably, 2 or 3 weeks in there that we never even met on this.
Which was voted on with the whole group.
Yeah, which was voted on the whole group, and they didn't want to meet because of people going on vacation, the holidays, so on and so forth. So that kind of pushed the whole thing back, okay? So, and then when we talked at the committee, the loan committee talked, and I know I for one made the comment that I talked to a few businesses that had told me that they were not interested in applying for the loan money because of the stipulations that so many of them don't know if they're going to be here tomorrow, let alone 5 years down the road. And if they have to give a personal guarantee on that, they might have to pay that back. And let's face it, if they're out of business, there's nobody going to be able to afford to do that. So, and if you look at this county loan even, if I'm not mistaken, I think I see in there where the money will be dispersed March 15th.
No.
I thought that's what I seen on here.
County will be approved at the county board meeting on February 16th and should be dispersed shortly thereafter.
Right.
But no later than March 15th.
No later
You are
than March
correct.
15th.
No
Okay.
later.
Correct.
Okay, so
This
everything
is
that's...
Paul Gordy.
So everything that's done with this stuff and everything is with all this paperwork and everything, the whole problem we talked about is, as Mr. Black mentioned, we got to be transparent with this. We can't just say that we're going to give this people $10,000, and we got to have the paperwork and everything to follow it. It's that simple, and it's like the first loan that went through, and it probably took what, 3 weeks? Am I pretty close to getting everything done, to get all that done? So, although we always talk about this being a quick outlet to these businesses, it just never happens. You even mentioned, Mr. Horkin, that the PPA is not fast. So no matter what you do, I had the PPA the first round, and I just got on my phone yesterday a text from my bank that said, your PPA loan has been paid. So the government just paid the bank back yesterday. Okay, so that's how fast things move. So they can't expect us to move a whole lot faster. I'm one of the guys that said all along at the council meeting, we need to get money to these people. We need to get money to them if we're going to keep them. And I still believe that, but I just have not found or seen an easy way to do it, to make it quick, where we could just write a check and go give it to them today, and that's the problem we're running into here. But the biggest thing was, that, like I said, the before the holidays this come out, and so after talking to businesses about this loan, they didn't want to commit themselves to another loan because they've already gotten some already. So they said they'd probably wait and see what happens on the grant. So that's why we kind of deferred the city money. I would have to sit here and say, I would hope the city council would understand, and I would hope that they would leave this money here for us, not have to worry about it, because we could probably still use it for them. But I just don't know if it's anything that's going to get there real quick.
And I don't think anybody thinks that it's going to get there real quick. I just think that the longer we drag it out, the less the intentions of it are there for.
Well, and basically what, if I'm understanding it, this is
Josh.
Justin, is what you're looking at, and I understand what you're looking at, and same thing of what Mr. Ganders brought up. But this is one way to get the ball rolling with this grant money. It's got a deadline, period. Use it or lose it. We're going to target them first groups. Everybody can apply. All 50, 60 can apply. And what's left, then we'll keep rolling it down with and if we need to meet right away next week at the loan committee, if you'd like, with the parameters, or this week, I don't care. We can do that. Because, I mean, again, it was discussed in great detail about how we were going to do that.
So my one question then is that when you say we're going to use the grant first for these businesses up front first, and then roll back from there, roll back from there, then does that mean that if we get a lot of applicants for the grant, that we're going to put the restaurants or these other ones that were missed in the other program that we gave money out, that we're going to put them at the top, give them more, and then are we going to dip into the 260 for these other businesses that the council didn't even want to allocate that money for? So if we have, hypothetically speaking, we have 36 businesses apply for this grant. $200,000 divided by 36 businesses ends up being a pretty small amount that we can distribute everywhere if we're going to do it evenly, let alone if we give more, some businesses more than others. So then, are we going to use the $260,000 to give to businesses that applied for the grant that didn't really get much just because they showed a loss, but they weren't shut down? That's my concern, is that we can't really roll backwards when the money that the 260 is intended for was the ones that were shut down, and then we give those ones the grant money more right away, and I don't know what your guys' intentions are and what you talked about it, but just from what I'm hearing, that's what I feel like is going to happen, or that we're trying to try happen. But I feel like the $260,000 of the taxpayers' money is to go to the businesses that carried the burden for all industries, that they were the only ones shut down. I know that that's what the council's intentions of the money were. I know that that's where we want the money to go, where I don't want us to see and try to get into this and go, well, such and such business wasn't shut down, but they showed a 35% loss.
No. Again, with that grant, like we said at the beginning here, the restaurants were shut down, correct? That's what you're going after right now.
Well, my main focus on that, is the money from the reserves.
Correct, but that's
Yeah.
what you're going after in a nutshell, correct? Is them restaurants.
Not completely, because I think the
For the
grant,
most part, in a nutshell.
I would rather see the grant help the travel industry.
That's what it's doing. That's where I was going with this. The travel industry, retail, restaurants, service, and hospitality is the first targets with this grant money.
Yep.
So I guess I'm losing, am I lost on something on what we're talking about then?
Well, if we target those with the grant, there's other businesses that are also eligible for the grant.
Yes.
There's only $200,000 there.
Okay.
And if we target those businesses,
And the max we can give away is $24,999.
yep.
Okay.
Yep. I would rather us, be more proactive on it and use the 260 for what we know it was intended for. And then if even we have restaurants apply for the grant money, we'd maybe scale back the grant money a little bit for the restaurants, because we just gave them money here. And then that would leave more money for other industries that were shut down at one point and also haven't been able to really operate by any means. Dale's a perfect example of, his bus industry is non-existent for the most part of people not getting on buses, and we can maybe funnel more grant money to those businesses where we can use the city money under the executive order, the 2103, that it was just the hospitality industry.
I mean, without bringing up great details of names and stuff like that we went down to with that's what that is intended, exactly with what you just said.
So why
are we waiting on that money?
Why can't we do it now and have two separate programs running at the same time, I guess, right?
Right.
Because at the end of it is, it's a slippery slope to say how we come up with that. It's basically saying is that, we're going to target this. Because back to it, Ben and Justin, to be honest with you, I don't know how many people are really going to apply for this, because every time I've been told 50, 60, I see 10, 20.
Right.
So now we're going to worry about this group when we got this group.
But you got $460,000 roughly.
Correct.
And divide that out.
And at the end, it's,
Service 10 businesses with $24,999 pretty quick, and those, that gets you to 250.
correct.
Then you can almost service 20 businesses with that.
But the problem with that is the 460 you're talking about, 260, that's going to have a whole lot different parameters
Red
on
tape.
it than the 200.
I understand that.
So-
I think that's what Justin's saying, is why not run them together? And I'm just paraphrasing what I'm hearing.
Okay.
Why not run them together so you can service that travel industry really well with the grant money and get the restaurants on this side, so if you do end up, you can allocate that money at the same time.
Essentially, yes, I'm on the same line as that, essentially, because ultimately, one is a grant one is a loan that is going to be forgivable, whatever those forgivable parameters are. So the opportunity of not having to pay back on either of them is going to be there. One of them, they know for sure they don't have to pay back, where
Well, and then that's where I think you're getting confused. That's what we're trying to figure out is in segments, like they said, year by year by year, X comes off of the city money
Yep.
as becomes a grant.
Right, and we had that discussion at our last meeting in pretty good detail of what we'd like to see, some of those parameters to give you guys to go back, discussions to talk about, and ultimately make those decisions. And like I said, I have 100% faith within our loan committee, and always have since I've been on this board. I just would like to see us move on the 260 quicker than what we're talking about right now.
So what I'm hearing is that you would like to have like the loan committee to meet maybe this week or maybe next Tuesday or whatever, it means we don't have a meeting or whatever, and get the perimeter set up for this?
I would like to see that. I mean, even if you guys would have been able to set parameters on the forgiveness, and because regardless of who's getting the money, the parameters shouldn't change on when the forgivableness is and whatever. If we would have even, and not saying you guys, I'm sure there was a lot of lengthy discussions in your meetings, but if we would have had those parameters set, then we still could have gone, okay, yep, this is what we're going to do. We're all in agreement. So here's when we're giving the money out. Here's the parameters we did set forward, even though we were recommending to hold off, but we still had that information ready to go. And by all means, I'm not faulting anybody that's not here ready to go. Me personally, I would like to see the loan committee meet, put the parameters in place, and I would be willing to meet next week on Tuesday, have a special meeting to hammer this out to get the money ready to go. Because I think we know that once we get it out there, tell these people who can apply and get through that application process and get the money dispersed, we know we're still looking at 30 days. So if we wait till the end of January, it might not be till into March that we're going to get this money dispersed. And Tim and Dale, I know you guys know best because the conversations the council had about the money, is that the reason you guys even decided to dig into the reserves of taxpayers' money was because this was the group that needs help and they need help now. That's my only concern on it, is that we try and move as quick as possible. I think there's people that are counting more on this money, regardless if it's going to be called a loan. If they know it's forgivable and they know they're going to push to be in businesses, they don't have any intentions of leaving town or going out of business, why would they not apply for it? And we only, how many businesses did we identify last week if we were talking under the executive 2103?
17, I recall.
No, that was what the one list was, because some restaurants have actually been done fairly successfully. This is Paul Gordy. There are an eligible list of probably 35 to 40 altogether.
So the list that we had last week, there would be more that we would have on that down there than that.
Affected by 20-99 or 20-103 because of who they were. There are more, it might be 30, 35, something like that range.
And I know that ultimately we have the ability to choose to distribute the money how we want, who it goes to. I mean, those are the recommendations.
I think, this is Paul again, I think one of the things that the loan committee was concerned about is that people would not apply for the $260,000 program in the hopes that they would get a larger grant from the county. And that if they held it up and people learned that they weren't getting as much from the county's grant program, that they would come back and want to get some more money. If you have the deadline on the same time, then some people may not be able to, may not get anything.
So that's the advantage of running them separate.
And that was the advantage of having one follow the other slightly.
Okay.
And not talking about a huge gap, but having something that would allow businesses to make an informed judgment if they weren't getting grant dollars, that they would be able to get the forgivable loan dollars.
I know the restaurants that I have talked to, I know that they have said they would apply.
He's been holding up his hand for 5 minutes.
This is Daniel Black. Before I talk, I didn't know if Diane needed to say anything. I saw her pop up on the screen earlier. I didn't know if she had a comment at all.
I'm not looking in South Dakota, so I missed.
Thank you, Daniel. I've been going in and out, so my service isn't as strong, so I think that's why I'm popping up.
Oh, okay.
I did want to make sure that we had heard from Diane too. I appreciate
Sure.
your thoughts on it. And my intention with this was not to leave this hanging out there for a long period of time. And I would, maybe I misunderstood, but I thought we were going to be meeting to set up parameters for this later this week. And then talk about it and get this voted on. But making sure that this was out there and this was first so that we could be most effective with the money was the overall goal, because I know a week or two can make a huge difference for a lot of these businesses. But, you know, I felt like the sentiment from the EDA when we met back in December is we were okay with waiting so that we could make sure that we target the right number of businesses. And that was the reason for the decision to give us that longer period of time, which I know I didn't necessarily agree with, but I do get the point, and, you know, I think it was probably a good idea looking back on that. But I'd be more than happy to start setting up parameters on the loan committee. I'd also say, too, that maybe we should examine the makeup of the loan committee and see if maybe there might be somebody else that, since it seems like we may be having some of the same opinions on the loan committee, and we may need some differences.
After we organize the meeting, the organizational meeting today, commonly we will redo the loan committee, reconstitute the loan committee. That will probably occur at our meeting on February 9th. And that Mr. Grindy, as the chair, as the president of the EDA, will ask for volunteers. And that's how we've done it in the past. The president has asked for volunteers, and people have volunteered.
This is Daniel Black. I apologize for overstepping.
You're okay. Diane?
And this is Diane, and I kind of agree with all the guys that I'd like to see us moving forward, putting the parameters together. I understand that there's going to be time constraints because you can only just get the work done so fast. But I don't see there's a reason that we can't get our end of the work done now so that it's ready to go when the other work can be put into the queue. So I would hope we could, like Daniel said, have the loan committee meet this week or next week and put those parameters together. I think it's really important that we show the city council and our businesses that we are trying to move forward with this in transparency and quickly.
And go ahead, Daniel.
I would just also like to say, and strategically, too.
And strategically, thank you.
Yes. Well, yeah, and basically that's what we've been trying to say all along. Paul, Stump, we're 95% of the way there already with all this money with the city would be distributed. Mm-hmm. But the goal was, let's get the applicants coming.
Well, and I'm speaking on behalf of that. I've spoke to a lot of restaurants in town too that knew that the council was giving this money and they're looking forward to it as well. And I know that they're going to sign up for it. Like I said, I know that between the state money, this money, and potentially grant money that they're getting, some of the restaurants in East Grand Forks, it won't even equate to 1 week's worth of payroll for them. So they're counting on this and having to reopen, you know, if you guys watch any of the meetings when the restaurant owners met with our state representatives and Pat Beaupre was up there talking about how he just laid off 75 employees right before, and he told us what his weekly payroll is. Now he's got to restaff that restaurant now that the governor said, now you can open. He's got to restaff that restaurant with 75 new employees with virtually no income hardly coming in over the last couple months. This money is pertinent that they get it to pay vendors and pay other people down the line that are waiting on money from these people as well, to make sure they may have some money to pay their payrolls as these people have to come back to work for them. And that's my only reason for pushing this money along. I understand 100% where you guys are coming from and what you want to do and how you're looking at it. And this is just my own personal opinion of wanting to get the money out. I don't fault you guys for the recommendation that you're making and what you guys came up with one bit. Like I said, I've talked to many restaurants in East Grand Forks multiple times, and I know they're counting on this money as well. I mean, and it's just...
I was just going to say too, that I did watch the meeting with the restaurants and the state representatives, and that also played into part of what we had talked about as well, because I did bring that up, and that was part of, we heard that they didn't want to take on any more debt.
But I don't look
And
at this
that-
as debt.
and that
It's going to be
was-
forgivable.
Maybe.
Well,
Maybe.
And that's the possibility, so that's why we thought making sure the grant money was out there and that was clear first was the best route to go, and then get this going. So,
But these guys that, again, these guys that need the money, I understand the grant program is there, but if we give the money out through the grant program and we don't give them enough, or we make the decision that, we gave most of the money out to the restaurants in the grant program, and we had all these other businesses apply, and we didn't give them any, or they didn't get much, we can't use the 260 for them.
Why not?
actually.
You can use the 260
Yeah, why
for
not?
There's no
anything you
strings
want.
attached to the
There's no strings
260.
attached. That's what we've been trying to say, and
Well, I get that. I don't think that was the intention of the 260, I guess I should say.
the
And
intention of that money is to get it out, correct?
The intention of that 260 was to get to the bars and restaurants.
Exactly. And from watching the council meetings when they decided on that, I felt that that's where that money was supposed to go. I don't feel that we should use taxpayers' money to fill in where we didn't fill the grant program just because somebody submitted an application and their receipts are down 30, 40% this year, but they're still in business and they still have the ability to make money.
But I don't think that's the.
That's
intent.
exactly.
The intent is to fill the gap with the county money of the people that slip through the
Bingo.
cracks and the restaurants. And I think
I can't hear what's being said.
Sorry, Ben Horkin here. I think the intent is exactly kind of what you just said, Justin, is in kind of reverse, is the county money is going to fill that gap of the people that didn't get it, the restaurants that didn't qualify, the transportation people, and then we can take that city money, and if it's a close enough timeline, which I'm hearing it
It
sounds
is.
like it is. When I hear defer, that's a ways for me in
Yeah.
my business. Now, if I hear defer and that means Thursday, that's fine. Let's get these out. Let's get parameters in place. So, I mean, would it be, they should be able to apply for both of these at the same time?
Exactly.
And you guys meet as a loan committee, maybe 2 separate meetings to decide how this money's dispersed, and it could be weeks apart, correct? Me if I'm wrong, Paul?
It could be a week apart. This is Paul. It could be a week apart, it could be longer. The concern, I think, that the loan committee had was they would apply for the grants and not apply for the loans. And that they wanted to make sure that if somebody did not get a grant, that there would still be an opportunity to apply for the loan as well. And they didn't want to foreclose that option for businesses that may be needing that and counting on it as well. Did I miss something?
Correct.
And when do you plan to meet, Ben again, when do you plan to meet on the recommendation for the county money?
What was
The
that?
application deadline for the county is January 29th.
Yes.
So we can have an idea on who, and we could, we'll go to the EDA with that recommendation for February 9th. So no later than February 9th, everybody will know who's getting how much on the county dollars. So we could act the following week and just have a very short time frame for people to do it, knowing what they are getting or not getting from the county.
So it wouldn't be far-fetched to say you could open up the city application period in 2 weeks and have it closed
We could open
shortly
it
after.
with all the loans or all the applicants that come in. We could open it up next week.
Right, which you could, and as long as that closing date, so they know what they're getting or, okay.
Mr. President.
Yes, sir.
Thank you. Dale Helms again. Part of the problem come in on these 2 loans also, Mr. Horkin, is the fact that with all these executive orders and everything, it was really hard just to keep everything straight. And we kind of wanted to get one going, and then we'll get the other one going. So when we deferred, we didn't defer it for months, by no means. We weren't looking at that. So what I'm going to tell you right now is, from what I see, what I understand is to have this city money, to have the guidelines set up for that, we're basically only at about 3 things we got to do. We got to figure out how long the term is going to be, how much is going to be forgiven each year, and the other one
The
was
term. End the term.
Any default provision.
Oh, the other one was the personal guarantee or whatever. We need to figure out those three things, and we could have this thing set up. So, my proposal is this sometime this week, if the loan committee wants to meet, and I'm not going to set that time because I'm free anytime. I can show up anytime. So whatever works between, probably you two guys is the big, between Josh and Daniel, we can get that set up and probably hack that out this week, and then we could meet on Tuesday again if you'd like to do that, and approve all that. And then we could start this city. We could get that out. Like he said, we could start that application next week. Wouldn't be hard to do, I don't think, but that's my opinion.
Well, and then I think the other thing that, just to address Mr. Horkin, this is Ron Galsted again, is that we need to start providing this application that the county has given to us for this grant program out to the businesses so that they can apply and get it in before the 29th. So that's the first step in that problem. I'm done again.
So is there, between Daniel and Josh, what's your schedules look like for, I mean, we can do it in the evening too if you want, I suppose, huh? If you want to do it, well, I guess,
You can-
I don't
you
know,
can send
does
a-
Ron have to be there for that?
I would propose that Gordy send out an email to all of us and we can figure out and check our schedules and see what time works for us.
Okay,
I know I have some time available though at the end of this week.
Okay.
or Basically starting tomorrow or even
Mr.
tonight.
Galsted, you'd have to be there too, wouldn't you?
I can be there. I'll leave that up to,
I would suggest the same group that met last week meet this coming.
Yep.
meet this
I would
week.
agree too. I'd like to meet and at least have Mr. Galsted there.
Yep.
So, just so that in case there are any questions that come up, there are a couple things that he pointed out, with the $24,999, and some of those things that
Yep.
I'd like to have his
Right.
expertise on. Just so we
Okay,
can make
then
sure we
could-
get it right and we don't have to go back.
So
to the board.
then, Justin, would you be okay with that if Mr. Gordy gets an email to us and we meet this week and finish off these
Yeah,
guidelines?
absolutely.
'Cause
I
I think we could be pretty close at that, what I said, but, I mean, because we basically followed all the other guidelines for the most part. so,
Yes.
As far as the rest of us concerned, so we could do that, and I think we could iron that out, and then have it for, if you want to set a meeting for Tuesday, then, you'll send an email for everybody for that then, for a EDA meeting? I would say that'd be the thing to do.
Yeah, Josh.
Go ahead, Justin.
I think that was one of my biggest concerns too, is at least having these people know what the parameters are going to be and what the loan forgiveness is going to be. I mean, I don't know if we can build caveats in there that says something about if they end up having to close due to our governor shutting them down again. I think the people that are going to take the 260 money, the money that the council wanted allocated towards these restaurants, I don't think you're going to have ones take it knowing that they
That,
are on the verge of that they are going to close, because then they know they're going to have to pay it back.
and to be honest with you, Justin, Josh Grindy here again, that was not even discussed, to even be worried about.
No, I know, but if we have those parameters in place, at least these guys know, okay, here's what I have to make sure I meet to make this forgivable. And if they know that they're going to be able to meet that, and in their mind they're going to meet those parameters, they're going to apply for it. And that's where I come from saying that most of these restaurants I've talked to said that they count on that money and they think that they're going to make it. Now, a lot of that has been said too, that if the governor shuts them down again because cases spike this year sometime, some of them might not make it. I think we're all hoping on the intentions that the shutdowns are done with. And if they are, the ones I've talked to are all 100% positive they're still going to be in business. But
Which we
again,
want.
absolutely, and that's what this money was intended for. And if we have certain parameters in there and they don't think they're going to make it, then they're not going to apply for it. And if they know they've got to pay it back, they're not going to apply. They're going to apply if they think that, hey, this money's going to help me, the grant money's going to help me, the state money's going to help me. A couple restaurants we have that aren't eligible for the state money, so they're probably relying on this money a little bit quicker. But if we have those parameters and we go to them and say, here's our forgivable parameters within this loan, then we're going to know for sure who's going to apply and who's not. And I think that's another reason why it probably is pertinent that the loan committee meet and we get at least the guidelines set in place.
I like, Mr. Helms's proposal that we try to get the loan committee to meet yet this week, and then the full committee meet on Tuesday. So what do we need to do at this point to make that happen?
I was going to go ahead and make a motion to table this till our next EDA meeting on Tuesday.
I think we have to accept or reject the recommendation, correct, Ron?
I didn't think we made a motion.
Well, I mean,
to
you could
look
make
at
a
that.
motion to table it as well, and then it'd have to be, it could be tabled, and then you put it on the next committee meeting, but that's,
But
it's appropriate to put it on the table. I'm not saying you have to do so.
If we table it, does that mean that we can still call a special meeting if we want to meet to accept or discuss as a board the parameters?
I would suggest, this is Paul, I would suggest that what you do is you make a motion to hold a special meeting next Tuesday for the purpose of dealing with the city's forgivable loan program with parameters developed by the loan committee and submitted for review and approval at that meeting. Ron, does that work?
That works.
I'll make that motion.
I'll second.
I'll second. This is Diane.
This is Ben Horkin.
Ben made the motion, Brenda and Diane seconded. Call roll, please.
Before you do that, could you repeat the motion one more time?
No. It's a motion to meet, for the EDA to meet.
Well, to call a special session on the next Tuesday to
Tuesday.
deal with the forgivable loan program, and that the loan committee meet this week to set up the parameters to be voted on next week.
Okay, perfect, got it.
That's basically it. I didn't say loan committee this week. They just will vote on the parameters provided by the loan committee. Okay.
That's fine.
Gotcha.
Get all that, Brenda? I hope.
Johnson,
We're not hearing you, Brenda.
I don't have it on mute. You can't hear me?
Now we can.
Now, yeah.
Now you're back.
Okay, Johnson.
Yes.
Black.
Yes.
Blair.
Yes.
Orkin.
Yes.
Heck.
Yes.
Grandy.
Yes.
Helms.
Yes.
Okay, motion carried.
Motion to adjourn.
So moved by Blair.
Motion made by Johnson, second by Blair. Call roll, please.
Don't think we have to call roll.
No.
No.
I want to hear it.
Just saying.
I want to hear,
All in favor?
I want to hear the person vote no on that motion.
Well, you never know. Thank you.
Thanks, guys.